So I'm a big fan of the YouTuber JJ McCullough. If you haven't watched his videos, he basically does cultural and political breakdowns of mundane topics we don't think too deeply about. I've always wanted to do a video breaking down some mundane subject I find interesting, and so today, I wanted to break down the comic book superhero tropes and references in the My Little Pony Friendship is Magic episode, Power Ponies. To briefly describe the episode, the main six and Spike get pulled into a superhero comic where they all assume the roles of different heroes, and use their new powers in order to defeat the Maniac. This episode aired in 2013, where superheroes were all the rage in Hollywood, as the MCU was in full swing, and just a year prior, the Avengers would gross $1.5 billion at the box office. The My Little Pony IDW comics began just a few months prior, so it was an opportunity to ride out the superhero comic book hype. People going into comic book shops might just see the IDW issues. Now all of that was just speculation, but the timing could have not been better. Despite a big marketing push, the Power Ponies wouldn't return in the main series, only making a few brief appearances. So let's take a look at the influences that helped make this episode. I know it's been over a minute and I haven't talked about any ponies, but first I wanted to get the setting out of the way. Metropolis by name is obviously a play on Metropolis, the city Superman protects, but its atmosphere is closer in influence to Gotham City, which Batman resides. You can even see the use of a blimp in the night sky, which is a direct reference to Batman the Animated Series. Whilst we're on the subject of things to get out of the way, the name of the Power Ponies could potentially be a play on the Power Rangers, the Americanized version of the Japanese show Super Sentai. Now we can finally talk about our heroes. First up is Twilight Sparkle as Masked Matterhorn. At first I thought this was a reference to the Daredevil villain Matador, who sometimes goes by the Masked Matador. His ultimate strategy to defeat Daredevil was to block his vision so he can beat him up. Reminder, Daredevil is blind. Besides from name, they share no similarities. I'm led to believe she is based off Star-Lord, due to Twilight's new power beams being very similar to Star-Lord's elemental guns. Twilight could have been paired with Star-Lord because her name is also space-themed. This will all age pretty well, as just a couple of months later, Star-Lord and the Guardians of the Galaxy would become household names thanks to the 2014 movie. Next is Pinkie Pie as Philly Second. Speedsters are a common trope in comics thanks to the popularity of The Flash, otherwise known as Jay Garrick. However, it seems like her costume is based off Bart Allen, otherwise known as Impulse. And much like Bart, in the non-Pinkie Pie version of Philly Second, we can see that she's a ginger. Yes, I know not all versions of Bart Allen are ginger, so could you shut up before you leave that in my comments? Thank you. Next up is Rainbow Dash as Zap. Zap is based off Storm from the X-Men, a character that helped modernize the team into the metaphor for social injustices like we know today. They both share the power to control the weather, and they both have a black costume. Zap is even stylized with a mohawk, much like Storm's later appearances. Next is Rarity as, fittingly, Radiance. She's a 3-for-1 combo for a reference, but don't worry, it's not that complex. Her costume and gem motif seems to be based off of Amethyst, the DC Comics character, not the bad one. Her powers are based off Green Lantern, the ability to make light-based constructs of anything you can imagine, with the pink color being similar to fellow Lantern Star Sapphire. Instead of a ring holding her power like the Lanterns, her powers come from her bracelet. Another 2-for-1, Applejack as Mistress Marvelous, a play on Miss Marvel from Marvel Comics. This is specifically based off the Carol Danvers version of the character because of her black mask and red suit. It's pretty unique how popular of a character she had become, since she's just a sidekick of the pretty niche Captain Marvel. Her involvement in the Avengers comics, as well as unfortunately being ogled at by male readers when she got her new costume, propelled her to become a pretty decently known B-lister. So much so, she would succeed her predecessor and take on the title of Captain Marvel. However, Mistress Marvelous's powers and abilities are more closely related to another symbol of female empowerment in comics, Wonder Woman, complete with a primary use of a lasso. However, it lacks the ability to force others to tell the truth. This time it has psychokinetic abilities instead. Next is Fluttershy as Saddle Rager, an obvious parody of the Hulk. Much like Bruce Banner in Marvel Comics, when Fluttershy is provoked, she turns into a massive hulking beast. I would say case closed and move on, but I believe she is also based off the invincible character Monster Girl. If we take a look at the non-Fluttershy version of the character, they have similar hair to Amanda when she isn't in monster mode. Finally, this brings us to Spike as Humdrum. The sidekick of the team, Humdrum is similar to characters like Robin, who are introduced to comics to give young readers a character to relate to. Sidekicks have gained a rather unfair reputation of being lame, with most going solo after the popularity of Spider-Man being a lone teen superhero without needing the support of an adult figure. So who knows, maybe one day Humdrum will get his own Nightwing moment. Living away from the core team, no good superhero comic book is complete without a supervillain, in this case, the Maniac. The Maniac has full control over her hair, in a similar vein to Medusa from Marvel Comics, the first Inhuman ever to be introduced in Fantastic Four number 36. But she could also be based off of DC's Medusa, who is closer to the one found in Greek mythology. Medusa is able to freeze people in stone, and the Maniac is able to freeze ponies in hairspray. But she could also be based off of the Joker, specifically when he is possessed by Deimos in Paradise Lost. The long crazy green hair, the insane personality, the purple suit, it all matches up. But it is worth mentioning that older comic book supervillains are mostly green and purple due to at the time printing limitations. But that's the long con of this video, isn't it? You come here expecting ponies and I lecture you on comic book superheroes, you've all been duped. Now I won't suffer the same fate as CXCD's Half-Life video, I'm unstoppable. Okay, one last thing before I wrap up this video. Sunset Shimmer had her own superhero alter ego and won a Equestria Girl short that is very reminiscent of Jean Grey, otherwise known as Phoenix from the X-Men. With both having a fiery costume and psychic powers, the connection is very easy. Sunset Shimmer also has some literal Phoenix imagery, with her rising from the ashes and getting those cool fire wings. I'm kinda sad I never asked Katrina Hadley about this when I saw her at Winnie City. Oh well. It's kinda surprising to me that out of all these references, there's no stand-in for Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, or Wolverine, arguably the most iconic superheroes ever. But I appreciate that they chose characters that fit our cast's personality instead of going with the most obvious picks. It lets me teach you all some stuff you probably didn't know. But by God, is it a wasted opportunity we never got a full solo Power Ponies IDW run. Come on, please? Okay, I'll stop stalling. That's all I have for today. Thank you for watching. I've been May, and I'll see you next time.